There is a recent story. I don't know if either one of you have heard about it. In Missouri, a young man in 2021 by the name of Derontae Martin. Derontae Martin was a budding football player in high school, was on his way to go to college and possibly play ball at college. And he was convinced, for lack of a better description, by associates to go to a party.
Family's suspicion was right all along. Their loved one did not die by suicide. That initial cause of death by the Madison County Sheriff's Office was overturned after an inquest this morning.
The case of Derontae Martin has left the family furious with the local sheriff's office.
It took a jury of 6 about 2 hours to determine Derontae Martin's death was no suicide.
I feel rejoiced. I am so glad. I am happy that they seen through all their lies and they sought the truth that my baby did not kill himself.
The prosecutor, coroner, and investigators involved in this proceeding wouldn't go on camera, but the Madison County prosecutor told the I-Team he asks for coroner's inquests when there are questions about how someone died. A total of 26 witnesses were called, including James Wade, who owns the home where the shooting happened. Derontae was there for Wade's daughter's 18th birthday party. Jurors also heard from paramedics, highway patrol investigators, and Madison County deputies. Troopers and the county's pathologist said they believed it was a suicide. The verdict means the investigation is not over. With enough evidence, prosecutors could still charge someone in Derontae's death.
Despite the jury's decision, investigators say the homeowner where the shooting happened passed a polygraph. He testified he didn't know who shot Martin.
He shows up, and this is in the rural part of Missouri where this party was being held for a quote-unquote associate's sister. He gets to the party. Derontae is the only black person at the party.
Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag,
Facts.
red flag,
Fucking facts.
red
Fucking
fucking
facts.
flag.
A few hours, or no, a day or two after the party, Mr. James Wade calls police and said that he had discovered Derontae's body in his attic with a gunshot wound to the temple. This is his home, that he had discovered Derontae's body in his attic with a gunshot wound to the temple. Here's the part where it gets even more tricky, salacious, foolish, if you will. Police arrived at this man's home within minutes, clean up the scene essentially before the paramedics arrive. The paramedics arrive and take away Derontae's body. And in less than 48 hours, a coroner, local coroner, declares that the death was by suicide. Declares that the death was by suicide. Now, here's a little tidbit for you. Derontae had surgery on his dominant hand, his right hand. If you are going to do anything, even if you're going to commit suicide, you would do it with your dominant hand, right? I'm assuming. Derontae has a cast on his arm from hand all the way down to elbow. So it would be very difficult for him to use a weapon to commit suicide with. The police automatically, like I said, immediately less than 48 hours declared that it was a suicide. The family then has to scrounge together money to find a second coroner to give a second opinion to explain what is going on. And that coroner says, nah, this is ridiculous. This is not suicide. This was fucking caused by violence of some sort. Here's one last tidbit of news, man, or I guess a piece of it. Derontae is not the first or the second. He is the third such person to allegedly commit suicide in Mr. James Wade's house. Mind you, like I said, this happened in 2021. We are almost 3 years, I guess, later, and nobody has been arrested. Not one person. Even with all this evidence that's circulating about Mr. Wade. And one more tidbit, I'm sorry. He is locally known, Mr. Wade is locally known as a white supremacist. He has no direct affiliations, public affiliations with groups, but everyone in the community knows that this dude is about that life.
He's also had white supremacist regalia hanging up in his home.
In his home. That's
He
correct.
was known for posting racist white supremacist rhetoric on social media.
Indeed.
He is indeed a white racist who killed a young black male in his home, in a town, in a city where he is known for his behavior. And those race soldiers came in and covered up the mess.
One of the largest parts about this, though, at this point is that Representative, because it seems as though the family and others have been begging the federal government to intervene and find out what's going on. This is past, like I said, going on almost 3 years at this point, where no one has been arrested. So, and I know Elgin gets his butt hairs in a bunch anytime we mention her name, but the only person that seems to be talking about this in the halls of Congress is Cori Bush. And she's been pushing to try and get I was about to say Elgin, Merrick Garland to do what he's supposed to do and come down to Missouri and start investigating this shit. I'm at a loss, to be very honest with you, man. This whole thing has got me torn the fuck up. I can't understand, even with all the evidence that they currently have, even with everything that's going on, even with now public light being shown on this story, that there still isn't anything being done. But once again, this is America. Maybe I shouldn't be as surprised as I am.
I'm telling you, man, once we get, as a people, get to a point where we realize that there is literally only one way of slowing down or ending these acts of violence, things will begin to change. When we start matching bodies, and this is not to be disparaging against this family at all.
Right.
In any shape or form, my upcoming comments. There's no way in hell that my 19-year-old goes into a known racist white supremacist home and doesn't come out alive, and there's not an act of violence of some sort as a retort. There has to be something that is. And again, that doesn't mean that this white supremacist dies or is harmed, but there has to be some sort of response, man. My 19-year-old son, oh no, Q Biggie.
I think about the reactions, my parents have had to the idea of my sister and I being in any kind of danger, and I can't imagine anything on this planet cowing or dominating the rage of
the
pain of
righteous fury that your parents bring.
Anger. I don't think there's nothing on this planet that will put that much fear into me to not want to break your face wide open for killing my child. Okay, that's why I'm just like, no, like I don't know any father on earth that's going to sit there,
or mother for that instance.
Yeah, sit there and be like, okay, I'm cool. Let's just kumbaya this shit.
Right.
I'm just gonna be patient and roll with this shit.
Yeah,
the time to roll with it is way past.
Way past that.
A different kind of response is needed. A different,
and I say that because
a very drastic kind of response is needed.
We have examined and exhibited every possible response as a form of solution to these things. We've dreamt big to the point of having a black president. We've got to a place where we've been able to sue police departments and get, settlements. We've gotten some arrested. We've done everything within the scope of their paradigm, their system, their methodology. And it still is not stopping. Now let's move to a place where private citizens are now the ones who are committing these heinous acts more than the quote unquote public servants, right? Knocking on doors and, cars and birthday parties and shit like this. I mean, again, I don't know what it's going to take for us to begin to think more outside of that box to create solutions to prevent and to reap justice for the lives that we've lost in that capacity.
You're right about that.
Because if I would have read it on the news following this, that, the father or the mother immediately went to the house and shot this man, I'd be like, oh, well, hey, listen, man.
Wouldn't have been mad.
Hey, what do you expect? What do you expect?
Not one bit.
Because he called. If you listen to the 911 call, it is one of the most eerie things that you will ever hear. Because I've never heard someone be that calm
about saying you found the body of a young
of
man
a
in your
kid,
attic.
of a little boy, 19 years old, is very much still a child. Hey, I think somebody just shot themselves or committed suicide here, in a very calm, even kill, evil tone.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. You're right about that.
Yeah.